So, how many of you have heard of the fad diet, gluten-free? A lot of people. How many of you have tried gluten? Well, that's probably good, because most of you, like many Americans, will not have what's called celiac disease, which is a disease where your lower intestine cannot process the gluten from wheat, soy, and barley products. This is the point of a gluten-free diet, though, is to help those people. People that end up not having celiac disease and take a gluten-free diet end up running the risk of having serious negative consequences to their health, such as, well, I'll get to that later. But my main claim is that eating a gluten-free diet when you do not have celiac disease can be negative towards your health. My supporting claims for that are that if you do not have celiac disease, eating a gluten-free diet will make you malnourished. My second supporting point is that gluten-free food is unhealthy for you in general, and you will get fat from eating gluten-free food in the long term. As my third point. So, starting off with that first point, I have most people just end up picking up gluten-free diet because it's just a fad. They're like, oh yeah, my cousin tried it and he lost like 20 pounds or something. Oh, my sister's doing it right now and she loves it. And according to this doctor, Peter Green, the director of Celiac Disease Center at Columbia University, he says, unless people are very careful, a gluten-free diet can lack in vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And this can lead to malnutrition. And according to the AAPN, which is the Alliance to Advance Patient Nutrition, says that if you end up not having the proper nutrition, become malnutrition, it will lead to a lot of very negative effects on you, such as weight loss or pancreatic exocrine or lack of pancreatic exocrine function, reduction in cardiac muscle mass, villus architecture and intestinal permeability, increased risk of infection, and even psychosocial effects such as apathy, depression, anxiety, self-neglect, according to Trevor Smith of the Institute of Human Nutrition. And avoiding grains on the gluten-free diet means that you are eating fewer products enriched with nutrients, just how the way gluten-free works, because they have to extract that from the dough when they're making it. So what happens is you lose the important things such as iron, calcium, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate, according to an article from UW Health. And that leads into my next point, that most gluten-free food is unhealthy for you. Just straight up cutting gluten foods from your diet is unhealthy because it has those important vitamins in them, such as, stated before, iron, calcium, thiamine, etc. According to Catherine Talmage, an author of Diet Simple, eating a lot of foods that are stripped of nutrients will lead to an unhealthy body, just because of you're lacking a lot of the nutrients needed for the digestive system and other sorts of things. Another study showed that a lot of gluten-free foods have a lot of additives, such as extra sugars or fats, which lead to them having higher calories, and that makes, if you end up having a very heavy gluten-free portion of your gluten-free diet, being like gluten-free breads, you're going to gain a lot of weight and be unhealthy just because of that, which leads to my final point. Because you will be eating a lot of these gluten-free foods specifically, you will be gaining a lot of weight, which normally that would be like not that good. You want to like hopefully keep a lower BMI. This is important though that they do that because that's for people with actual celiac disease. They don't have the ability to process nutrients normally, and so they might be malnourished from before they were on the gluten-free diet. So by being on the gluten-free diet, they gain weight, which is important because they're probably going to be underweight. And because of all these things, this is why a normal person should not be on the gluten-free diet and why it is a bad thing if you're healthy to be on the gluten-free diet. Thank you.
All right, Henry, we know what the subject area is early on. That's pretty good. It takes you a little while to get to the proposition, but when you get there, that's relatively clear. There's also a pretty solid preview of what the supporting structure is, so I appreciated that. I do think that you kind of depend on the notion of the audience providing the controversy here because, you're asking people if they've tried a gluten-free diet and that sort of thing. I'm sure that there's some data that talks about how this has become a fad, like you talked about, how the explosion of products that are available that are supposedly gluten-free on the shelves. It wouldn't be hard to find a little bit of information to back that up. You're just kind of relying on people's general knowledge there. And maybe they'll have some knowledge of it, but I got to be honest with you, a lot of people are clueless, and I don't know that they're all sitting in here, but some of them are probably sitting in here. And so you should probably provide a little bit more data there. The explanations of each point I thought were pretty solid. The proof on each point was a little bit thin. I thought the strongest point was the first one with the issue about potential malnutrition because the foods are processed in a particular way that denies the vitamin content, or they're not getting the nutrients that they might need to have that goes along with the gluten. It's general information on that. None of it's ever particular. The testimony that you have comes from authoritative people who are warning about gluten-free diets and the potential absence of nutrients. We don't have any examples. There's no statistical information on it at this point. It may be difficult to figure out what number of people have any kind of malnutrition that is directly related to avoiding glutens. You did mention additives that are used in the foods, and I think you need to have a little bit more explanation of what those additives are and why they would contribute to people's either malnutrition or later on the weight gain that you're talking about, because that sounds like it's a very vague reference to a potential problem, and you want something that is more specific and quantifiable. I did appreciate that you had some authorities that you cited, and you did a good job on that. I think, like I said, that you could use a little bit more information in most of the categories to make the argument stronger. Let's see. Oh, the third point was very underdeveloped. It seemed like this is an idea that exists, and there's no data to support it other than the notion that if people are eating gluten-free, then they're going to probably eat more and it's going to have higher calories. I didn't really get any data that talked about gluten-free foods being higher in calories. If people are compensating by eating more of it because they don't have other foods, as a consequence they're consuming more calories. This sounds very speculative, and you need some data on those points. I'm not a fashion maven by any stretch of the imagination, but it's generally a good idea to take your hat off when you're giving a speech. Just a thought. All right, thank you.